Hi guys, welcome back to Crafty Quilting Designs. I hope you're well and you're having a really fantastic day. So guys, it is block 5 and again today we'll be making 2 blocks, okay? Now just a few things I need to say before I show you the block and give you any further details. Now number 1, so for next week's tutorial there won't be any. Okay, now the reason for that is that a few people have contacted me and say that they are slightly behind in their block making. All right, so I thought it'd be fair and very good community spirit to give everybody else a break. So those of us who were up to date, give yourself a break and, you know, just to make sure that all of your blocks are ready, and give those who was just joined or those who are lives are slightly more busier than mine, because mine is busy, trust me, you know, just a chance to catch up so that we all can be on the same page and accomplish it together. All right, so next week no tutorial for the Christmas sew along. I will put another video up, but it won't be for the Christmas sew along. It'll just be a normal quilt making. Well, I say normal, it's one I've been making for some time now and I put it aside to concentrate on the Christmas sew along. Okay, so that was what you will actually see instead. But for next week's Friday, no Christmas sew along. All right. Also, while we are taking a break, if you can organize yourselves to get your background fabric for your sashings and inner borders, that would be brilliant. I'm considering using either a light fabric, obviously, because I want those other colors to stand out. So I'll probably go for cream or slight off-white, okay, but something a little bit of a Christmas pattern in the background of that particular fabric for the inner borders and the sashings. All right, also consider what you would like to have for your borders. So I'm thinking of 2 borders. Okay, now as of the width of the borders, I haven't decided on that as yet. I usually make that decision based on the size of the quilt top itself before I add the borders, so then I can get a more informed decision as to what size the quilt will come out as. All right, so that's literally it for next week. So next week no tutorial. The week after, on the Friday as normal, we would have our Christmas sew along. So we're just taking a Friday off basically. Okay, now this week's we have 2 blocks, and last week I asked if anybody wanted to throw an idea in for a block, and Bob Linkat, I do apologize if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly, thank you so much, has contacted me to ask if we all can do a Christmas stocking. And of course I totally went along with the idea and I thought it was a brilliant idea. So we're making those blocks today, as well as our other block, which is a house block, a Christmas house block. Well, I call it Christmas winter houses because of the colors I actually used. Okay, so let me show you the blocks. I will show you the houses first. Okay, so this is the first house. You're making 3 sizes. All right, so this is the tall one that I'm showing you, and you're making 2 of these, and you're also making medium and you're making small. So the medium are 4 houses and the smalls are 3 houses. Okay, so 3 smalls, 2 talls and 4 mediums. All right, now for the Christmas stocking that Bob has asked for us to make, and I thought it's a pretty good idea. So once again, thank you, Bob. And it's so nice so that people can actually get involved and, you know, make recommendations. And Bob, girl, I'm loving all of your actual Christmas fabric you used. It was so beautiful, because Bob's also sent me a picture of all of her blocks that she's made as well. It looks absolutely gorgeous. I was like, Carl, come and see Bob's work. I was so excited. You guys don't know how excited I get when you send me pictures of your stuff. I'm just so silly. I'm really passionate about it, and I love when everybody else gets involved. It makes me feel like I'm not talking to myself, you know, that the video is out there and there's nobody paying attention. All right, so Bob, thank you so much. You know, you don't know how much your little email just made my day, so thank you. So this is the block, Okay, and we're making 6 of these. All right, so whatever color you choose, it is a very simplistic block to make. It's literally took me about 5 minutes, and this is the only one I actually made. I haven't, so I too am behind on my blocks. Okay, and I still got some more houses to make as well. So and you're literally seeing this in real time. So the video comes out on Friday, today's Thursday, and I literally just made this block. So that's how close to the T I am working with making these blocks, because obviously I teach. So when I come home, I make the blocks, I get the videos all organized and sorted, you know, and then I most likely edit the videos on the Thursday, and on the Friday you get it. And another thing, if the videos don't come the usual time, just be patient with me, because once I upload it, YouTube is so slow. It literally takes hours sometimes, and if the video is long, it takes even longer. So just be patient with me. It is coming. One thing with me, if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. If I can't do it, I wouldn't say it. All right, so just be patient and just keep checking. And for those of you who are not tuning in on YouTube, please subscribe. It really supports the channel and helps the channel to grow. Okay, and sometimes, if I'm honest, I don't immediately share to the other platforms. So like my crafty blog, or my other Facebook crafty quilting page, I don't do it immediately, depending on the time the video uploads. So if I'm a bit tired, I'll probably do the next day. So it doesn't mean I haven't done it. So that's why it's so important to actually subscribe, and that way you get the notification immediately when it comes up on YouTube, because YouTube is the main platform for the Christmas sew along. Okay, so thank you, Bob. All right, guys, so that's literally it. So happy quilting. Don't forget the usual, to like and subscribe, share the video, and of course hit that notification bell, you know, and I'll see you in 2 weeks time for the Christmas sew along. But I'm sure you're going to see me in between that. As I said, I've got this beautiful quilt, I know you're going to love it, to show you next week. All right, guys, bye for now. Hi guys, so let's get on to this. It's really exciting making these houses. They're very easy to put together as well. So let me give you the cuts, and also what I will say right at the start is that for all of the cuts, again, I will put in the description box down below, and I will put all of the cuts under subheadings. Okay, so we're making 3 sizes of houses. So we're making tall, small and medium, and I will put subheading of tall house, and then the cutting instructions, small house, cutting instructions, medium house, cutting instructions, so it's very clear. And the reason why I'm doing it that way is because some of the cuts are slightly different, obviously, okay, because of the size of the houses. Okay, so we're going to start with the tall house first. Now the first thing we need. Okay, so I have stitched it all on now. Now, one of the things I just wanted to mention, if you wanted to just cut off the size of the middle strip and just have your door on one side, you can. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the middle. You can have the 2 walls together and then have your door on the side. So it's entirely down to you. No big deal. Just do whatever makes sense to you or what you like. It's good to try things out. Right, so I'm going to set the seams again with this, and I'm going to open it out. What I mean by that, I'm just going to put it there and just flatten it on that side. So I just wanted, again, my fabrics are really good quality, and you're not seeing the dark on the lighter fabric. Okay, it's not printing through. Now the next step now is to simply sew this all together. Now you can see that there's, you know, it's gone shorter now because of the seam allowance. All right, so never mind, there's something is going to happen with that. So you can do one or two things. You can simply put it edge to edge there and then cut that off, but to be honest, I haven't been doing that. I prefer to just put it on there and stitch it front sides together and then trim off that extra. Okay, so let's go do that now. All right, so I've stitched it on now, and I'm just going to finger press as normal and then set those seams, and I'm just allowing it to go whatever direction it is pushing the seam to go, so don't fret about it too much. And now I'm actually going to trim this extra fabric off there. Okay, so I'm going to line it up, make sure it's nice and straight. And what I like to do when I'm doing these sort of trimmings is to line it up with my mark there on my board, because I think that helps you to get it nice and straight also. You know, nothing is worse than actually cutting the fabric incorrectly. It's very annoying when that happens. So I'm just trying to make sure it's nice and straight. And you know, guys, I'm fiddly when it comes to this. You know, I like it spot on, literally. It's just spot on. Okay. Right, so that's done now. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to cut this in half. So this is 4.5, and all you can simply do is just fold it in half, finger press, and then cut it in half. Now I'm not wasting anything here at all. I am literally using up the strip of fabric that I cut off. Okay, and all I'm going to do is now put the strip of fabric in the middle there. Don't worry about cutting it off at the minute, just stitch it front sides together. All right, now once you've done that, we're going to actually snowball. So once this is all together, we're going to snowball the corners to make our roof. So I'm going to stitch this together, and I'm going to then show you how you lay this on top to ensure you get that chimney in the correct alignment. All right, so let's set the seams on this, and again I'm just going to open it back like that because I want it to lay nice and flat. Okay, I'm just flattening it out and spreading it. Now, one of the things about adding the strip in the middle, which is so fantastic, is that it brings the block back to its original size. So it was 4.5, so you literally end back with the starting point of a 4.5 block. Okay, so what we're going to do now is to lay this front sides together. I'm going to remove this one because you only need to stitch one on first, and I like stitching on the one that I've made changes to first. So what I'm going to do is to put this in the lengthwise like that and flip it over, line it up. So do not lay it like that, it will not work. All right, it must go this particular way. All right, and again we're simply going to do the snowball technique as we've been doing all along. So again, I'm going to pin the corner in which I am going to remove, and I am going to draw a line. Let's make sure that's lined up properly. Draw a line from this end to that end, and as usual, sew on that line. Now, I don't like using the ruler where it's short, and I know that's really silly, and I can just move the ruler down, but I don't like doing that. I don't like lifting the ruler off because the blocks can be very fiddly in the sense of the slightest touch throws it off. So I just like to make sure that, you know, I don't interfere in it. So I have a long ruler. All right, so same applies. I'm just going to draw the line on this one because I will do them together at the sewing machine. So I'm going to draw this one on first, just a light drawing, and again it's front sides together. So I'm going to stitch this one on first, and then we will come back and I'll show you what to do next. All right, let's go do that. All right, so I have stitched that on there now on that line. Let me just bring it closer so you can spot that there, and my pin is there, and I'm just going to trim it off. Now what I also have been doing is adding another stitch line there, and then once I cut it off I actually get, and I'll bring them in the shot here, I actually get some half square triangles. So these are scrap, and I'm sure I will find something for them. So all you need to do really is to stitch another line, and then you will cut in between those two lines, and that way you get some half square triangles. All right, and we can use that for whatever else we want to, for a scrappy quilt, or even to put it into the quilt, which I am sure my brain will come up with something. So, but I haven't done that here because I forgot as I was explaining to you, but I will leave the pin together and then add a scant stitch there, so that I still keep that half a square triangle. All right, so I'm going to cut that off now. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, as usual, fold it back nice and gently, and you can see that chimney there appearing. All right, so I'm just going to finger press again, and it's pushing it towards the actual roof there, but I'm just going to force it back this way because I think it will lay better that way. All right, so I'm just forcing it that way. And again, I am not going to put the iron on the edges there because we know already that, you know, they don't like hot heat. All right, so I'm just gonna press it there on that seam so that it stays flat. And again, as usual, my temperature has been lowered because as you know, I don't like the iron very hot for these purposes because it distorts the edges. Okay, so I've already added the stitch line onto this one, and again the line goes down. Make sure you put the line in the right area so that when you fold back up, it's correct. All right, so let me get another pin because I don't want to remove that one, and pin it in the corner there. And this time I will add the other stitch line there so that I can get my half square triangles. Now this overlap is correct. Do not think for a minute that the overlap there is incorrect. That is what I wanted. I designed it that way because if I made the square smaller, we will have a gap in between, and I don't want that. Okay, I want that roof to give you that X. All right, so let's go do that now. In fact, what I should have done is put it this way. I just realized I wasn't seeing that line. I put the line face down. Okay, so right, so let's go stitch that now. All right guys, so I've added the other stitch as indicated. You probably won't be able to see because it's white and you can only see the blue line there, but I'm going to cut it so that I do have my half square triangle. And you know what? I need to put my glasses on because I can't even see that. I can't even see the stitch line. That's how blind I am. Anyway, it is what it is. Right, so glasses is on now, and I'm going to literally cut in between those two stitch lines there. And there you go. I have my half square triangle, which you can use for something else. Okay. Right, so next step now is to gently fold this back. And I'm going to turn that over again, and again put that iron on, just set those seams. Okay, and that's literally our block. Now the difference with this one is that I have given it 1 inch at the top there, just to give it a little bit of height from the crossover. Now what I also wanted to say is that if you wanted to use another strip of fabric like this particular one here to add for your chimney, why not? I don't see a problem in doing that. Okay, you can do that. So what I'm going to do now is cut a 1 inch strip and then add it onto that particular to the block there, so that it gives me that particular height. Now I didn't want to leave it that short. I felt the block was a little bit on the short side, and I also wanted to give that elongated look there, give the skyline there a little bit of height so that it was not too close there. All right, but I can leave that down to you, but I would advise that you do that. I think it gives the block a better appearance. So let's trim that off. So all I'm going to do now is just add it on to there, stitch it on, and then cut it to its right length. Okay, let's go do that now. Okay, so I've stitched that on now, so let's trim it off. And that's literally it for your tall block. And again, set the seams and then press it back. Now I'm going to give the blocks a little bit of steam now, so it lays nice and flat. No folds again in all of those creases or seams. Just make sure everything is nice and flat. And I can feel that it raised up a little bit there. Okay, so that's your block. Okay, so that's that there. All right, now the block measures, let's get the measurement out for the medium, sorry, the tall. And we're looking at literally, isn't that amazing? We are looking at, let me get my proper ruler, because I like this ruler rather than that other one. So I'm going to put this down there. We're looking at just over 11 3/4. So we've increased the size just by 2. All right, 11 3/4. So that is it for our tall house. So the next we're going to move on now is to our medium size house. So I'm going to give you the instructions for that now, and then we'll move on. I mean, honestly, it is made the very same. I'll give you the size and I'll show you the house. Okay, but I think I will just show you how to make the smaller house, because the medium house is very similar to this. It's just a 10-inch block, and I'll give you the sizes as well, but very similar concept. Okay, but I will demonstrate how to make the small house. So I will show you the medium house. So this is the medium house here. Okay, and I'll give you this one as well. So again, I've done 2 of this one because I'm cutting separate fabrics together. All right, and again it's a similar. So I will give you the description for this. Again, it's your half square triangles there. So with this one, you're using 5-inch squares, and we're cutting it into 3. Same way, nothing has changed other than this is a 10-inch block, and I've added on 2 inches there, 2.5. Let me just double check. I think that looks like a 2.5. Yep, I'm right, 2.5, to extend the height so that all of the blocks are the same height. Okay, so again, start with a 10-inch, and then I will explain how to do that in the description. I'll give you the size, but it's very much the same thing. I think you're cutting off, is it the same? Yeah, you're cutting off 4 inches. All right, cutting off 4 inches with this one. But again, the sizes will be in the description box down below, and it's literally the same method I've used to make it, but I will just show you the smaller house, which is slightly different. All right, so let's put those aside, and then I'll tell you how many houses you need for each size. So let's move on to the smaller house now. Okay guys, so let's move on to the smaller house now. We're going to start with a 5-inch square, and I have subcut the 5-inch, so I've removed 3 inches, okay, and I'm going to put this up there. So I'm going to work with the bottom bit at the moment. Now I have some separate subcuts here. So this is a 1.5 inch for my door, and again, when you are cutting these down, you need to work in references of 2 houses at a time. Okay, so this is 1.5 inch. So what I'm going to do is to cut away 1.5 inch from my bottom piece. So this is my 3 inches by 5. Okay, this is my 3 inches by 5. So I'm just going to cut away 1.5 there. I'm just measuring it up because I'm using the lines on my ruler. Okay, so I'm going to put that to the side because I don't want this, because I already have the 1.5 inch for my door. Now the balance, I'm just going to fold it in half, give it a good finger press, or if you want you can just put a hot iron on it, get a nice crease there, and then cut it in half. And we're going to do literally the same thing as we did before to make the bottom part of the house. And just cut that down. Okay, and now these becomes my walls, and this is my door. I'm going to put those there. Okay, now we need an extra strip for this particular house. We need a 1 inch by the same length, which is 5, to go up there. All right, so that's 1 inch by 5. All right, now if you wanted to add a little window in this particular house, you can do a 1 inch square and remove the extra on the end there, on this extra strip excuse me, on this extra strip, and attach it there. So then you'll have a little window there in your house. Okay, now this particular one that we originally cut away, we're now then going to add that there. Okay, and now we need our cornerstones. Our cornerstones are 2 inches squared. Now the difference with these ones is that they do not meet in the middle there. There is a little bit of a gap. So what I have done with this one, just to illustrate to you what I'm referring to, I am just simply, I just fold it corner to corner, put an iron then there, so I can just illustrate what I want to point out, so that you can get a visual of how it comes together. All right, so I'm going to do the same for this one. Just fold it there, and this is going to be my line that I actually use for my stitch. So I'm going to stitch right along that press line in the middle there, and again it goes on there. So that is your small house. Okay, now if you didn't want to add the window, you simply don't bother with it and leave it as such. Now once we've stitched all of this together, we will need to elongate the length of it so that it equates to the length of all the other tall houses. Sorry, I just moved the camera there. All right, so then we still need to add that height. All right, so that measurement now, which is this one here, again my background fabric, and notice again I've used white for the small houses. Although there is a slight print on it, it is still white. And again, these are subcuts from leftover fabric that we've been using to make our quilt top. All right, so all the blocks, this is just bits that rather than go into a new fat quarter, I have just used up whatever is around to get these small cuts. So I'm going to put that back there. Okay, now this background fabric measures 4 inches by 6.5. Okay, and you're going to stitch that on there. Okay, now it may look smaller. Remember, we haven't added on the we haven't stitched these together and trimmed the whole thing down, because once we add on the 1/4 inch there, it is going to be trimmed down. And of course, once you stitch this on, you will be trimming all the time. So let me stitch this together just to give you an idea of what it looks like. Now before I do that, let me show you one that I've already done with the whole length of it and what it actually looks like. So with my window there. Okay, if you don't want to do that, as I said, you can leave it as is. All right, it's entirely down to you. If you wanted to put your door on one side, you can simply leave the whole thing as it was without cutting it in half and just put your door there. All right, and then possibly put your window on that side. So you have variations. Play around with it and see how you like it. All right, I mean, that's the whole idea of doing this, so just play around with it. I think I'm going to go with this variation because it looks nice. I kind of like it. The only thing I'm going to do now is to just get back my original size there. So because obviously then I will add on a 1/4 inch between there to join those together. All right, so I'm just going to get back this original size, the same fabric, and then leave the door on the side. I think, anyway. I may possibly change my mind by the time I get to the sewing machine. But I do like this. All right, so either way, whatever works for you. And again, if you're using directional print like this one here, just make sure everything is upright. Okay, so everything is the right way up. All right, so I'm going to stitch this together now, and I'll come back and show you the whole completed look. So again, let me repeat myself. Okay, so you cut your 3 inches by 5 into 3s, and all I've done really is cut off 1.5 inch and then cut the balance in half. Okay, so that's my bottom part of my walls and my door. So walls and door, and then I've got this midsection here for the height of the house, and this is a 1.5 inch strip, again by 5. All right, but remember, once you stitch these 3 together, you are going to lose some length on the side, so you'll need to trim this down once you stitch it on. So stitch it front sides together and then trim. Okay, and then of course you will stitch this again front sides together, and you would need to trim because we would have eaten up some of the length or the width here within the 1/4 inch seam. All right, and then as normal, you will do your snowballing technique, which is front sides together, sew them down on that crease line now, because no point marking it, such a small one, and then you open it back up. Okay, now the only difference with this one is that I didn't bother to do the chimney. I just felt it was really tiny pieces of fabric, and it wasn't necessary to do that. All right, so let me go stitch this together, and then I'll come back and show you what it completely looks like. Okay guys, so I've made my houses now. All right, so this is the one that I was making on camera with you. So as you can see, everything comes together, and I decided was to put it in the middle. Remember, I said I most likely would have changed my mind by the time I get to the sewing machine, which I did. So I put the door in the middle. However, while I was there, I did sat and made another one, but I put the window in the corner there as well. Now, what I wanted to point out is don't be mindful of that. Don't worry about it, because it will, once you've stitched on your background fabric there, you will lose 1/4 of an inch there. Now, before you add on your background fabric to elongate the length of the block, it will meet, okay? But once you've added that and you've taken away that seam allowance there, you do lose your tips. But I didn't want to change it. I could have made this bigger, but then it would have meant I would have come in a little bit closer there and made the roof a little bit small. But I was happy with that. It didn't look awkward or anything like that. In this particular instance here, if the roof is slightly flat, it's not a big deal. You know, it's not a huge, it's not a star, so it's not a big deal. I think it quite adds, you know, the uniqueness to it, to the house. All right, so in total, you need 3 small houses, okay, 2 tall houses, and 4 of your medium houses. Now, I don't know if you've noticed it, but there is a bit of a theme with my houses. I have elected to use different shades of blue just so that it represents winter. So just different shades, and I'm not quite finished yet. I still got these 2 to do here as well. All right, still got these 2 blocks to finish. All right, now I also was working with a 10-inch square for my background fabric for my medium house, and that's because obviously I need 5-inch squares, don't I, for my roofs there. Okay, let me get it out. There you go. So this is the medium. Let me separate them so that you don't get confused and put these out of the way. So for the medium house, Okay, for the medium house, you need your 5-inch squares for your background fabric. And remember, once you trim it down, you're going to get that 1-inch strip there for your chimney, which is made exactly the same way as the taller house. The only difference is I've used 9 inches by I think it was 11.5. That's right, so 9 inches across by 11.5, whereas this one begins from a 10-inch square. Okay, so that's just a difference. But as I said, I have elected to use similar blues or very similar shades of blues in between. So I'll go through the quantities yet again of how many houses you actually need. So 3 small, okay, in different shades of blues, entirely down to you. I just choose different shades of blue just because it represents winter. I haven't placed that in my mind yet where on the quilt top I would put it, but I am going to put all of the houses together. All right, so it's going to be our Christmas lane basically. Okay, so so we need 3 small houses, 4 of the mediums, these are the mediums, and 2 of the talls. So I've done my talls there. Okay, my 2 mediums here, my 3 small, and these balance here is going to be my the next 2 mediums. And again, working from a 10-inch square so that I can simply cut it down into 4 and get 4 5-inches. All right, so basically you need 2 10-inch squares to make your 4 medium houses with your 2 inches strip attached to the top to elongate so that they all measure the same height. That's the idea. We want all the houses the same height, irregardless of what size they are. So the medium, let me put them all 3 together for you. So the medium, this one needs trimming still. There you go. No, that one still needs trimming because I just did them. There you go, this one is right. Okay, so the small, medium and large, okay, it's all the same height. So just make sure that you trim them down and the same height, because obviously we need to put that inner border. So if they're all the same height, life is good and easy. All right guys, so that is it. So again, 3 small, 4 medium and 2 talls for our homes. So next block now is our stocking block, and let me show you how to get that done. All right guys, so let's make the stocking block now. As you can see, it's already laid out, and let me tell you the sizes. So for your cuff, you need 5 across by 3 inches in height. For the main body of the stocking, you need 9 inches in height by 5 inches in width. You need a 5-inch square here. Okay, also you need some snowball as well. So I haven't decided this yet, but I'm thinking along the lines of using white for my background fabric. So you need 2.5 inches squared 3 times. So one will go there, and one will go there, and of course the other one will go there. Okay, just to show the heel on a sock as you would. Okay, or as I said, I am thinking along the lines of using the same fabric as I have for the cuff there. Okay, so obviously these points will represent where the toe goes once I snowball these. So you'll obviously get that V shape there, and then this will be cut off, so you have that heel shape there. I'm liking this one, it looks really nice. I do like the complementary look of it. This background fabric here fits in there. All right, and I'll tell you the size of that in a minute, but for now I want us to concentrate on this. So we can either use colored fabric that represents the color there for the cuff, or if you wanted to, you can simply just use your background fabric again, which is your white, there as well. It's entirely down to you. It makes not a huge difference. All it does is really show up the same color fabric there as you would in any sort of sock that you would when you have the heels and the toes different colors in any sock, men's socks. So I think it's really down to you how pretty you want to make it. But I think I'm going to go with, you can mix and match, it doesn't really matter, to be honest. You can do some with the white background fabric, and you can do some with the cuff fabric. It's entirely down to you. But what we're going to do first is the usual. So we're going to stitch this front sides together there. Once we've done that, we're going to snowball these areas as usual. Point to point, draw a line, pin where you need to cut off. Same with this one. Point to point, from edge to edge, point to point. So always remember that you are marking the areas of the edge, the raw edge of the fabric. All right, so point to point there, draw your line. Remember, when you're doing it this way, you need to just do one only. Okay, you cannot do both of them at the same time. Well, you can, but you'll have a little bit of a pucker there in the middle. So one at a time, snowball, then add on the other. So I'm going to do all those three, and I'll come back and show you the next stage. All right, guys, so I've stitched these on now. So the usual, remember, very important, that when you are cutting these off, ensure that you do not put the iron on the edge of the fabric, because obviously it warps it quite easily. So I'm going to fold this back naturally where it wants to go, and again just putting the tip of the iron literally on that seam there. I'm not pressing the fabric, I just literally add it on because I don't want it to stretch or to take an unnecessary unpleasant shape. Okay, and then I'm going to iron the front now, still not touching those edges. Do the same for this one now. Remove the extra, and I'm going to cut. I don't know where I've put my, oh, there you go. I was wondering what I've done with my rotary cutter, because I really don't like doing it with the scissors. Okay, and again just iron the seam. That's literally what I'm doing, on a temperature of which you know it's not going to go out of shape. I'm just going to remove those little bits of thread there, because I don't like it, as you know. I don't like those bits. They just makes the whole work look untidy. Right, so the next objective now is to literally stitch these together, but before we can do that, we need to add our background fabric. Now, if you've already decided on what your background fabric is, you can simply use that now, but I haven't as yet, and to be honest, I'm not really worried about that. So I'm just going to use white, as I have done for all of my houses. Okay, and again, front sides together, and stitch this on. Now this one measures 5 inches by 7, so 5 across, because obviously we have a 5-inch block, and it's 7 in height. So I'm just going to stitch that across there, and then I'll come back and show you what to do next. Okay, so now that I've added on the white background fabric, remember, sorry, that this is 5 inches in width by 7 in height, and simply, I haven't ironed the block as yet. All I'm literally going to do now is just fold these front sides together and literally put a stitch all the way down there, and that's simply our block completed. So let me do this and then come back and show you the completed block. Alright, so the block is completed. Let's give it a good press, and as usual, bear in mind that we also need to set the seams again, because that's important. I always say that, you know, fabric, there is a lot of needles going through it, and it's sort of, you know, it stresses the fabric. So if you can get the iron now just to relax the thread as well as the fabric, you know, everything lays nice and flat. So always remember to set your seams. Right, and again, just making sure I can glide across, because I want this block to be nice and flat, and stretch it out because I can see my folds there already. Stretch it out, and I'm just pressing just to add a little bit of steam. This is a beautiful block. I do like it. Good idea, Bob. Just get that all nicely pressed out, because I'm really pressing the middle there, because I can see that seam beginning to fold. And as I said, it always takes away the width size of your block. So just make sure it's all pressed out nicely. And this is a beautiful block, absolutely love it. I'm just pressing that again. Okay, so that is our block, guys. Absolutely lovely. We'll put that back. So that is it. I'm going to turn it this way, so hopefully, because I know I'm looking at the camera in one direction and you're looking at the other, so it looks upside down on your end but not on my end. So that is your stocking block. We need 6 of these. Now let's just recap on our, actually looks nice with the colored fabric, the same as the cuff. Doesn't really make a difference. If you wanted to use the white, by all means. I did do a trial one with the white, and you can see the block is smaller, so I did sort of, you know, try out what it look like. But I do like the colored fabric, and you can see a difference there with the white, so you've got a bit of an informed decision. So this block is obviously bigger, this one isn't. All right, okay, so we need 3 small houses. Just to recap our lesson today, and yes, you're having a lesson, not a tutorial. 3 houses. We need 4 medium houses. So I've already made 2, okay, and 2 tall houses. All right, so that's literally what we've done today. So I've got to make another 2, and obviously you would have all of yours completed by the time we compile the quilt up. Okay, so that comes to the end of our tutorial this week, guys. So don't forget that next week there will be no Christmas sew along, because there are a few people who are behind, even myself included. I still need to make 2 blocks, and I need to organize myself in terms of my backing fabric, as well as my the fabric I'm going to use to connect all of the actual blocks together and do the cutting and measurements as well, so that, you know, I have all the right things to tell you. So that's it. So I will see you in 2 weeks time. Of course, there will be another video up in reference to a quilt, but not the Christmas sew along. All right, so guys, do enjoy, happy quilting, and I shall see you next week, but not for Christmas sew along, just for an ordinary upload for an ordinary quilt. Oh, almost put myself in it there, for a quilt. All right, so that's it. Enjoy. Let me know your feedback on the blocks and how you're doing, etc. Any questions, please throw them my way. I'm actually off next week, so I can have time to converse with you a lot more freely. All right, so until then, bye for now. Happy quilting.